Welcome back to the Mail-In Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Merriman. In front of me, a special guest this week. You may know him from his appearances on the Too Much Dip podcast, live from the shores of Lake Mendota. It's KJ Ellis. KJ, welcome to the Mail-In Podcast.
Thank you, Brett. Thanks for having me back. Ecstatic to be here with you. And happy to be here with you in a February that's just not like completely frozen over here in Madison, Wisconsin. So it's a pretty damn good time to be alive.
Yeah, well, thank you for joining us, KJ. You have a couple appearances on the Mail-In Podcast, I believe. First, in a minute, we are very excited to have KJ back from Madison, Wisconsin. I feel like the prevailing theme this year is mild winters, sort of across the board, outside of a few select places in Utah, for example. Is that kind of your experience?
Mm-hmm. That is correct. We probably had a good week and a half when y'all had your freeze, quote unquote, when Randy was just doing peanut butter, banana tortillas a few weeks back. We had, I don't know, good 8 to 10 inches of snow in a short stint, and then it froze for like a week and a half. After that, it's been, easy living.
Yeah.
Which, we've got 6 or 7 weeks. I'm not hanging a banner quite yet, but the anticipation of spring is definitely getting real.
There you go. KJ, we were talking before this. You had one of the more brilliant ideas that you may want to trademark. Would you mind revealing we were talking about sort of house repair and how KJ has just recently moved into the new crib up in Madison.
Yeah.
You had an idea that sort of rocked my world. Would you mind giving me your pitch as if you were on Shark Tank?
So it may have been on a previous episode of the Mail-In where I revealed to the world my near-death experience. Like many people out there during the pandemic, I became wrapped up in the home improvement or DIY approach to fixing things around the house, upgrading things around the house, and may have taken a little wrong turn and putting down a water bottle that actually had bleach in it and taking a swig out of that. I've since learned and grown on my path to be like competent in fixing things around the home. So,
did you just have the whitest teeth on the planet for like 2 weeks?
I might have. Well, never mind. It was going to sound terrible.
Oh,
anyhow, when it came out the other side. Anyways.
Oh boy.
Most people pay for this.
Oh,
no, but my thought was we were discussing, you mentioned a friend that was in the trades, and I'm like, we need to take paint with a twist, and it needs to just be, a sip and see type event, but for dudes who want to be able to learn how to fix drywall in their house or remove hardwood, remove carpet and put up hardwood floors, and you just kind of drink 2 or 3 beers, and it saves me like 10 YouTube videos worth of content, and I figure out what the hell I'm doing. And I don't want this at your local Rockler wood shop type place. I don't need this old house. I just need something, a little bit cool. I need a guy to have a beard, definitely a flannel. They've got some IPAs and a little fridge on the way in. You go through a little safety course, and then you've got like an hour and 20 minutes. And by the time you're done with that, like, you're definitely not a journeyman. You're not fucking rewiring your whole house, but you can replace a chandelier or fan or two.
I love it. I love it. It's paint and sip for guys. Maybe you take a local warehouse, outfit it some sort of fantasy factory. It's like you can steer and beer with a forklift. You can spackle and cackle with the fellas.
Okay.
You can.
I was going to say dip and rip, maybe. See if. Oh, I guess I won't throw their name in there. Mm-hmm. Maybe something along those lines.
Screw and brew. Perfect.
There you go.
It's kind of like an escape room where like you have to like have the little stations. You have to do the things before you can,
Hold on. The tagline of Brew and Screw is that you have to have the little stations and do the things. I love it, Randy.
Yep. There it is.
I feel like Randy could run this place. I think he's like low-key super hardware adept and talented and crafty. So, maybe my local regional manager.
Randy would be like the fun foreman, though, who's like, All right, let's do nail gun contest.
Yeah, I'm Tim the Tool Man, and I need my Al Borland.
Wow.
Okay.
What a poll. We are the Mail In Podcast. Please tell a friend about the show. Subscribe on iTunes. Follow on Spotify. Hit the hotline number to leave a voicemail 888 362 MAIL. That is 888 362 6245. Or you can write in at the link in the Twitter bio at Mail In Podcast. In the description of this episode as well, hit up the Wash Media store, washmedia.shop. Hit up the YouTube. I believe this is going on YouTube, Randy, right?
Yes.
Look at that. The power of technology to see us in 8.7K. Love that. YouTube.com/mail in podcast. Shouts to Randy and Sally and myself and KJ. And the last 2 episodes of the Mail In have the best YouTube views and impressions of all time.
There we go.
Sally's
golf clap for
awesome,
the
by the
squad.
way.
Sally
It
is
doesn't
awesome.
get said enough on other pods here in the Wash Media Network, but I'd say next to Will, make me Sally's #1 fan.
Wow. Okay. I'll fight you on that. I think I'm Sally's #1 fan. If you would like a Washed Media meetup in your city, here is your opportunity. If you go to fundly.com/circling-back-meet-up, I will also just put the link in the description of this episode. You have the chance to bid to get a meetup in one of the following cities. How about Atlanta, New York, Charlotte, Washington, D.C., Nashville, Denver, Seattle, and, drumroll, lovely Madison, Wisconsin, home of KJ Ellis. If you want to Wash Media meetup, now's your chance. Now is your chance. And by the way, for those who are like, why not Chicago? I know we have some Chicago listeners out there. It's because we're having one. Keep an eye out. Keep an eye out. Thanks to our friends over at Mudsy. Keep an eye out. So
sorry
here's
not to undercut you there, but I was
Yeah?
also can I appeal to the people really quick while we're on the Funly
Of course.
bit quickly? One, Chicagoites, like Chicagoans, you can venture up to Madison. You can make that trip. It's we're not as big, but we're much more fun. You know that, and I know it. Also, if your city's not on this list, if you're just you're one of the flyover states, adopt Madison as your hometown for this contest. It doesn't have to be local to you. The goal isn't to have 8 cities and only those listeners compete here. We need your support here in Madison. I will personally buy you a beer if you do not live within the state and you support Madison and you attend the event.
That was very
How about
presidential. That was like the Obama hand and support Madison.
And support Madison. ladies and gentlemen. And I've committed attending over half of these locations. I won't name which ones I won't attend,
Okay.
but they're in the middle. Mostly in the middle column. Everything else, pretty well on board to be there for.
So here's the deal. If you donate to a city of your choosing, the winner, the city with the most donations amount, I guess, will be where we do a meetup. And that money will all be donated to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. So good cause. Have fun with it. We've raised over 10 grand already, which is awesome. Really excited about that. Shouts to everybody who has donated. Really pumped that we're doing this and excited to go somewhere. I guess we'll find out soon. Anyway, want to do some questions, KJ?
Can't wait.
Here we go. Hey, mail-in crew. It is my first time reaching out. Thank you for reaching out. But I've got a pretty big situation on my hands. Here we go. I recently learned I'm set to inherit a hefty sum from a relative who has stake in some successful businesses, private equity. Initially, I was over the moon, but now reality's sinking in and I'm starting to freak out. I'll be receiving around $500,000 by year end with, listen to this, the equity totaling about $35 million over the next few years. It's great not to get it all at once, but it's still more money than I ever imagined. My immediate family is aware of the situation, and they are very well off, so that will not be an issue. I'm under 30 and have lived an extremely normal life up to this point. Normal corporate job, making the same amount as my friends, normal apartment, car, etc. Obviously, I'd like to improve some things in my life, but I also don't want to draw attention to myself or really let anyone know about my situation. This is especially tough because I'm really close with my friends, and they will likely ask if I make a big purchase or suddenly change careers, like, what's up? I obviously don't want a lot to change, but I'd love to take advantage of this incredible gift. My advice, or excuse me, any advice on how to navigate this while staying grounded. My biggest fear is robbing myself of my future and being judged for not earning any of it. I appreciate any help you can offer. So this dude is winning the lottery, basically. He knows he's winning the lottery, and now he's wondering how to go about his daily life, making sure he feels like not much is changing.
I gotta think. You can just be the same person. Just donate it all to Madison, and we'll be good to go.
We'll know very quickly when Madison receives a $17 million donation from this man. No, like first of all, let's get the obvious out of the way. That's really cool. I mean, that's a really unique thing in life to sort of win the lottery thanks to a relative, which is awesome, and props to them on their hard work that has resulted in this windfall. Like it's sort of the reason you dream about winning the lottery or having a bunch of money someday is to pass it on, is to pass it around. They say nothing feels as good as giving money. Like you can't buy a yacht and be like, I love that more than giving my friend a sum of money because it naturally feels good. So get that out of the way first. KJ, any initial reactions here?
Hmm. Well, I think my initial response when I first read this was probably a little bit more mature than where my brain's going with this now. Um, so first, you know, consider your local NIL collective
Yes, if you would like your
or in
team.
zone complexes that you could name after yourself. Um, but no, in all seriousness, I think two like legitimate things to keep in mind here. If in fact, as you mentioned, your immediate family is well off to whatever degree that is, they likely have resources of people that you should be in touch with. And it's
Mhm,
probably already the case that there's already somebody involved, a money person, to help you plan and allocate these things. I would also consider, maybe having that person and ask them for a reference to have someone outside of their circle, um, because they likely went to school. Somebody knows somebody who's gone to another company. They won't be offended if you're just trying to have a secondary person. Um, and for no other reason, just to make sure that you feel confident that you're not going to like put yourself in a position to squander opportunity,
mhm.
or be forced or pressured to do anything because you're like tied at the hip to a certain individual. Second, I think writing a list is the best in this situation. Like start there, you know, open yourself up a sweet Google Sheets document, 3 tabs, and like one very little things that you could both want and acquire within a 72-hour window, because that's going to eliminate a lot of things. It's going to eliminate your big trips. It's going to eliminate, home real estate purchases. Like all of those things are bigger than things that you could like go order in a 72-hour window. I'm not saying buy these things, but like write as many things on that page down. Then skip over and like think of your practical things that like do take some time and investment. Probably don't overlook like self-improvement options here. But this is
Mhm.
like where big trips would go. This is where he mentioned a career, or they mentioned a career change. Um, if you really thought, hey, I want to do something else, like what better time to like maybe take a class or finish a degree? Those things won't be necessary for future success, but it might be necessary for, you know, self fulfillment. If you really wanted to be a glass blower,
Yeah.
like
I
put that on the list.
I was gonna say, on that front, you don't need an excuse or you don't need to have a gazillion dollars to choose a different career path. Now, if you wanna be like glass blowing, perfect. It takes years to master and before you make a single dollar on it, I would imagine. So, you can tell you don't have to tell your friends necessarily, "Hey, I have this kind of financial backing that allows me to do change careers into something that I really love doing. That's just something you can do whether you have $0 or $35 million and say, hey, this is going to be more fulfilling in the end. I just have, I have family backing that's sort of allowing me to do this or at least try this for a while. You can, and like, it's generational wealth, and your friends probably know if your family's very well off, they probably know that you're going to be you kind of have this backup plan to begin with, or this backing to begin with. So I don't think I wouldn't be like, hey, I just got $35 million over the next couple of years. I don't think you'd come
Yeah.
out and say
They
that,
don't need to know
obviously,
how
but
deep the well is.
right. They just say, "Hey, I've been really blessed. I've been really lucky, and this is sort of allowing me to do this, allowing me to have a new apartment or have, and like if you don't want to be if you don't want to change, then don't. I guess if you don't want to be extravagant, you don't need the Audi R8. Like continue living your life just being happy, but knowing that you can do something, maybe you buy your friends dinner once a week, just something like
Right.
giving away that money or using that money on experiences that enrich others is going to, in my opinion, lessen that. I guess guilt is
The
the
guilt.
word for
Yeah.
inheriting money without necessarily the effort that warrants it. It'd be like winning the lottery, and you go join a country club, and somebody says, "Oh, hey, how'd you get in here? How'd you earn that wealth?" You're like, "Oh,
You're gonna
I
get
got."
those questions in those
Right.
places a lot quicker.
Right,
Like,
and maybe it's
the crazier the purchase, the more you're gonna have to answer questions that you don't feel like it. So, like, use that as a deterrent.
yeah, and if you just kinda wanna have a blanket answer, just say, "Hey, I was extremely blessed and had a situation where I came into some money." And, like, nobody needs to know necessarily, don't make it sound like you were selling bricks in Miami. Be like, "Oh, yeah, I got my money, can't tell you how, ha ha." But, just say, "Hey, I'm just very fortunate situation," and then don't necessarily flaunt it. I guess it's just it's kinda like everybody dreams of winning the lottery, but you don't really think of the emotional side of it. You think of the practical and the setting your family up and the legalese behind it, and you don't necessarily think of like, well, there's sort of this emotional ramification too of an immediate windfall that's not necessarily earned in the classic sense.
Yeah. One last thing on my whole Google Sheets approach is the third category, the third tab. I talked about like your immediate things to kind of like expend all that impulsive thoughts, like impulsive acquisitions, and then, your practical ones. And then with that third one, that needs to be your big picture and can be crazy as shit, like ideas. Like if you, in fact, want, a property in the Appalachians, whatever it might be. Like put those things on there. Again, not saying you're going to go do those things, but you may find just by writing that list that if it's a trip in 2 weeks and I don't know, wherever, Thailand or something, you might realize, oh, wait, that's something I'm really, really passionate about. I think is that's crazy. But all of a sudden you're like, A, I can do this, but B, like I've identified like some of this other stuff doesn't matter to me as much. And boom, there's something on your list that you can start kind of laying the groundwork for. You don't need to pay for all of your other friends to join you. You don't need to go through all these hoops. You can be like, hey, I'm planning to go, to Thailand for a couple weeks. Anybody else want to go?
Mhm.
If somebody can join, great. They don't need to know the details of like, okay, what class are you sitting in on the plane? Where are you staying when you go? Like you can still do those things and communicate it without having to let them count the change in your pocket.
Sure. And I I think if you want, you want to be extremely practical, extremely conservative, you basically put that cash in a trust as it comes in and draw from it a salary or, sort of pay yourself as an employee of you. You say, "All right, I'm going to make, a $500,000 salary each year, live off that, knowing that it's going to accrue interest and sort of keep it as a nest egg for your family, for future generations. If you need a big purchase, you consult with somebody on that, say, hey, we're going to draw it down this much to buy a house or, buy a rental property or whatever it might be." So there's really conservative ways to do it. And then there's the take $1 million, go below it for lack of a better term, get it out of your system, and then say, okay, I'm back to just doing me now. So I don't know. There's different ways to do it. Congratulations on staying
Yeah, go
or
bear hug a small media company.
If you want to bear hug a small media company, I feel like like Wedding Crashers, like I'll take a couple miles. We'll split the fee.
Exactly.
Um, but yeah, congratulations. And if it floats or flies, rent it. Right? Is that how the saying goes?
Exactly. If
Yeah.
it moves, rent it 1000%.
KJ, you know what's this weekend? 2 days, in fact, away.
Live?
Super Bowl, 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 Super Bowl. The big game is right around the corner. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to turn every game-changing moment into 100x your money. Kind of like maybe our guy just hit it up big on Prize Picks and
Exactly.
is just saying that as a ruse. With as little as 4 correct picks, you can turn $10 into 1,000. This offer, by the way, expires post Super Bowl, so get in now. It's demon time on Prize Picks, KJ. That's what they're saying. Again, win up
Mm.
to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. Demons and Goblins are the newest and most exciting way to play. Squares marked with red demons or green goblins get you different payouts. You can now win up to 100 extra money. Again, just 4 correct picks. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. KJ, I've been playing around with Prize Picks a little bit. Kind of fun.
Oh, yeah.
It's a
Oh, yeah.
different way to do it. It's a different way to do it.
It is legal here in Wisconsin, and it is absolutely a good change of pace to where you're not so tied up and feeling like you've got to know the metrics. It gives you very simple things to jump in, and then being able to combine like simple things like more or less. Like,
Exactly.
great. I don't need to know specific lines and details and odds. Like, let's keep it simple and then still come out happy at the end of the weekend.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah, more or less. You don't have to know over-unders, lines, odds. It's just more or less. Like you can use Steph Curry for more than 29 points and Nikola Jokic for more than 10 rebounds. And you can say, yeah, more or less. Boom. They hit, you win. So here is the deal. Go to prizepicks.com/mail and use code MAIL for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/mail and use code MAIL for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Let's do the next one, KJ. Brett and KJ. How do you tell your roommate they've been doing something wrong their whole life? I recently moved in with 2 women when urgently moving to a new city. We all get along totally fine. We live well together, but are far from friends, I'd say. The other day, I broke a
Oh,
wooden cutting board by cleaning. So I texted our group chat an apology and an offer to buy a new one. One of my roommates responded saying she does that all the time. Weird thing to happen all the time. Later, when emptying the dishwasher, I see that there are 2 more cutting boards in there. That would be why. How do you tell someone they're doing something wrong without sounding condescending? Also, I totally realize this is not a big deal at all. I just can't stop thinking about how much money this girl has spent on freaking cutting boards over the years. This question gives me a two-part answer, KJ. We can answer this guy's question, but I also want to know what things that you and I have done over the years that would be considered wrong per se that we just kind of do anyway. Astoundingly, like 3 of them are related to the dishwasher.
um, funny enough, like, being an absolute perfect being, I just can't think of anything I've ever done wrong. But no,
Right. Right, of course.
I would say more so being a narcissist. I can't think of things that I've done, but I can think of things that others have.
Yes.
Um, very recently, in fact, I mentioned earlier, moved into a new house. With that, we purchased new appliances, including a new dishwasher.
Ooh, but that set you back.
My very not passive, yeah, my passive aggressive approach to like limiting the things that are going into said dishwasher
Mm.
was that on one of my like nighttime YouTube binge watch sessions, I just like ended up on the "this is how you clean that" YouTube channel or whatever it's called. And it's like, oh, how to keep your dishwasher great. I'm like, man, I just really want to keep this thing, going for years, because some people in my household will have a tendency to put in like, we have 2 young children, And they have like silicone, like sippy cup type things and plates, which
Mhm.
is like terrible for the dishwasher.
We're not naming names, but
So yeah, which
Kai.
I'm like, they're just gonna smell like soap. So I'm like, all right, let's just throw it on. Let's see what happens. Because the same person in the past has ruined like a set of like your Rubbermaid Tupperware and plastic cutting boards by like throwing them all in the bottom rack of the dishwasher. And I'm like, come on, we got to do more here. And I would say from experience, don't share YouTube videos or just watch them in their presence, like in a passive aggressive manner. Unsuccessful.
I love
And
that.
post-it notes, also not a successful strategy. So
Okay.
if you have better ideas, I'm all ears.
I don't because I am certainly guilty of throwing a cutting board in the dishwasher. I'm certainly guilty of throwing crystal stemware in the dishwasher. I'm certainly guilty of throwing. I used to put my clothes in the washer, all of them at the same time, no matter the delicacy or color, and then throw them all in the dryer, no matter the delicacy, weight, color.
Okay.
Yeah, I
I'm
you
right there
can't.
with you
You
then.
still
I've
can.
I've effed up some clothes
Randy's
for
like,
sure.
hang on a second. What's wrong with that? I've messed up clothes. I've messed up cutting boards. I mean, there's just there's you don't take the class, in like I very quickly like in college, you never get the whole rundown, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, like throwing a leather jacket into the washing
Okay, that
machine.
was no. That was an accident. That was not on purpose. That was just me taking my laundry hamper and dumping it and not realizing. Obviously, I know not to throw
Yeah.
a leather suede jacket in the wash. Oh, it's bouncing back. So I don't know how. The more I wear it, the more it gets like that feel again. Thank God. But I mean, I'm guilty of this. How do you like it? You I'm just gonna say be direct. Just tell them once, be like, "Hey, this is not supposed to go in here, and it's the reason you're breaking all these cutting boards." And I get why, because it's like, I mean, I don't want to hand wash either, but
Yeah. If they're buying it, you know, who's to say? Like it's probably not worth the conversation.
Mhm.
But I think just going not going out of your way, but like you hand washing them at some point, they're gonna say, oh, just throw it in the dishwasher. That opens up the door really quickly. Be like,
Right.
well, usually they end up breaking a little quicker. You don't have to be like, that's why they're breaking. You don't want to point back to their previous mistakes. Be like, no, I just want to make sure I don't break it again
There you go. That's
by
a good way
throwing
to
it
do
in there.
it. Yeah, I used to tip my doctor. I used to, um I knew you'd appreciate that one. Thanks, doc. Slip him a 20 on the way out. They're like, "This is what your copay is for." He never stopped me.
And that was just like that would just go to the nurse's stand and they just order pizza or some shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Randy, what do you do wrong?
Nothing. I'm perfect.
No, what do you do wrong?
Uh,
okay.
I don't know. I'll put cutting boards in the washing machine when I'm too lazy to.
Yeah, of
But
course, and
yeah,
then, like, the cast iron skillet stuff,
I
I
don't.
know there's
I
a
don't think.
very
I don't think I
there's a
own
very t
one.
I don't do that because I don't own one, but I know there's a very technical way to clean these or, like, not clean
It
them.
is yes.
Oh, boy.
Don't leave it in water. Don't leave water on it.
Don't
Don't ever put it in the dishwasher. For crying out loud.
the
Um,
age-old, I'm just letting it soak for a while.
yeah. I would probably say the one thing that I did a ton, probably up until the last 2 or 3 years, that I screwed up a lot of Tupperware was you put spaghetti in a Tupperware container, inevitably it's going to start turning things orangish or whatever.
Mhm.
Especially if you have cheap Tupperware, like it's going to happen whether or not you do anything about it. But before trying to dishwash said Tupperware, which will then like bake in that pink stain,
Mhm.
like you can go one or two routes. You just wipe it out, wipe that oil out with paper towel, and then wash it, or leave it to soak with a paper towel in that water, with a little bit of dish soap, and then that paper towel will soak up all the oil in it,
There you
come
go.
off the sides of the plastic Tupperware. But I can tell you, I've probably thrown away dozens of plastic tubs of just poor college kid, spaghetti lunches and dinners
Uh-huh.
year after year after year, just because I didn't know any better. So
Oh, of
that's
course.
probably my biggest crime.
I love that. On that same topic, so with like marinara sauce and red sauce and oily sauces of any kind, shouts to Caroline's mom for this. She taught me that if it's like on your shirt, for example, and you put it in the sun, it like naturally comes out incredibly well. I don't know how. I haven't looked into the science behind it, but I have since tried it multiple times and it comes out perfectly.
You put
So
soap on it too, or
no,
just
just
straight
put
up in
it
the
like if you have like put it through the wash and it's like a lingering stain, you throw it in the sun and it comes out. And I can't explain it. And it's like one of those things that
Hmm.
who knows how? And I was just that made me think of it with the stained Tupperware. It's like, why does KJ have stained Tupperware on his patio sitting in the sun? It's like, well, you just wait. Anyway, let's do the next one, KJ. Hey, Brett and KJ and Randy. First time, long time writing to you from up Wisconsin way. How about that, KJ?
Shouts.
I am a 29-year-old male working a standard corporate America job and tend to get along with my coworkers despite me being the youngest on my team by a pretty good margin. Let's say 5 to 10 years minimum. Recently, however, a colleague and I were both driving separately to an off-site meeting. Unbeknownst to me, he pulled up next to me at a red light and he took a video of me singing in my car. To be honest, the song must have been a banger because I was pretty animated while singing along, air drums were included, etc.
hell yeah, dude.
He showed the video to me when we got to the meeting. We had a good laugh about it, and I told him while still laughing, "Oh man, please let's keep that one to yourself and delete it ASAP for fear of my own embarrassment, or for my own embarrassment's sake." I thought nothing of it, went about my day, treating it as a friendly jab among coworkers. Lately, however, it's become clear that he not only kept the video 5 months later, but is frequently showing it to other people, even those outside of our core team who don't know me personally. The worst part is they're all more senior leaders in the company, and several of them have even come up to my desk to say they, quote, saw an interesting video of me in the car recently. Randy has those
Yikes.
videos too. I'm obviously
Those are more
not
like Drake videos, though.
okay. I'm obviously not ashamed of
Okay.
singing some pop punk in the car, and I know this doesn't have any real negative repercussions on me or my career. That being said, am I wrong to be a little pissed that my coworker is essentially using me as the butt of a joke with leadership? This guy is half a step above me in the organization, and while not a bad person, has done little things like this to me pretty frequently. Jabs about my age, comments about how I can't relate to the stories about them having kids, stuff like that. It almost feels like it's him being threatened by me or trying to knock me down a peg. I normally don't have thin skin about things like this in my personal life, and if the video was shared with our core team as a one off thing, I'd have no problem with it because it was a genuinely funny video. Just feels like it's intentionally being used to embarrass me to the leadership team, and I don't appreciate being talked about behind my back like this. Any thoughts would be appreciated. I'm more than willing to be told it's not a big deal and to chill out. KJ.
Um, so having been in very similar situations early in my career, I started in whatever line of work I'm in, which was like cube farm corporate world. Let's see. I was 23, and again, I was probably younger than everybody I worked with, similar 5 to 10 years. I was definitely the person sending like near floor wide like emails about happy hour at like Wednesday at 2. Um, and, eventually you probably could say I was the personality hire, even though like I was half decent at my job. I definitely was there for like positive vibes.
Mhm.
One thing that I became well regarded for, known for, was we would do Friday, like every few Fridays, we do like an eating challenge.
Ooh,
One
okay.
week it was like we'd go to this hibachi place, and their fried rice was like a pound's worth of fried rice, and he was trying to eat
That
the whole
sounds so
thing
good right
over a
now.
lunch period. Another time it was like Saltgrass Steakhouse or whatever. Their cheesesteak or cheesecake dessert was like a pretty substantial sized cheesecake. I attempted to eat like 4 pieces of those during the course of like a production meeting. So like big long table, glass window meeting room. We're going through the numbers for the week, and here I am trying to house like a gallon and a half worth of milk in the form of cheesecake.
Oh,
not really giving two shits about like reputation or like how I would be known, from then forward. In
Mhm.
long term, I don't think it had any significant ramifications on anything like career trajectory wise. But I left that company for like 3 or 4 years and then came back.
Mhm.
What I found when I came back after 3 or 4 years, like at that point, I had no kids. I moved to Austin, did all that, continued partying. But by the time I would come back, like I think I was engaged or recently gotten married, was in a different stage of life. And not that I like was all buttoned up when I returned, but I wanted to make sure people who were working with me and had worked with me in the past were not still thinking I was 23-year-old me, as
Yes.
I was like 31 at the time.
Mhm.
Um, and that was kind of difficult to shake with some people who like, you're only 17 in your hometown thought like that certainly had a long-term effect. It didn't affect like their professional relationship, but like anytime small talk would come up, it would be like tied to something that happened like 8 years ago. And I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, cool, man. And if anything, I wasn't annoyed about like my personal part. I'm like, you're just not funny. Find another thing to like bring up.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I say all of that to say, feel validated and like being concerned, like, hey, should I be bothered by it? But again, I think you already know it's not a big deal. And there's really no good look way to go about like, quote unquote, like battling back against it until you're at like some happy hour situation. The person's a bully. Like it is bullying. As dumb as this sounds, like it is flat out bullying. Like it is an HR like offendable situation.
Mhm.
It doesn't sound like it's something that you would likely go to HR about. But if for some reason this like took another step and like, they try to, it's going to sound extreme, but like try to take a picture of you in the bathroom or something stupid, not like while doing the deed, but like something that would additionally cross the line and they keep going in that direction because these kind of people do that. Like, yeah, the course of action was certainly there. But like, at a happy hour, that's when you're just gonna be like, I'm not gonna be like trying to be an ass about it, but you gotta find something new. Like just make them feel like their joke is just unfunny is really the only way to get past it. Because if you're like, hey, that's dumb, or you fight back like in public about it or try to like counter them, I think it's just gonna look like you're not a sore loser, but like
It's the I'm
I
totally
don't
not
know.
mad, bro. I'm definitely not
Yeah.
mad. And that's only gonna make it's only gonna give it traction. This is one of those let it slide off you. Yeah, okay. Haha. Like, just let the joke die because there is a degree of this guy is you're the little brother in the situation. You're the punching bag. He's got something on you. He loves showing management because they get a kick. Like, it's gonna be funny to everybody once, and then it rolls off. And so I think the course of action here, unless it escalates like you mentioned, let it roll off you. You kind of let the joke
Yeah.
run its course, and then somebody else is going to be the butt of another joke because something happened in the break room, and somebody microwave fish, and then they're going to be fish boy or fish girl. Like it's just you let the cycle go. 5 months, and and this then people are like talking to this guy like, okay, dude, you showed me this video 7 times. Like I get it. He was drumming in the car, haha, and then it's gonna look worse on him, and even better for you if you just kinda play it off as it's not affecting you at all. So, I get where you're coming
And
from.
also know that like there is a thin line and there's a way to play this to your favor. Like the added attention to superiors in the company isn't always that bad.
Sure,
Like
yeah.
this could very easily play into, annual awards comes around for your company and, they give out the dumb, extra awards of best lip syncer in the company. And then you
Mhm,
get called up. Like it's not so much embarrassing if you lean into it in that moment. And you're like, all right, now the company's aware of who I am. They don't think you're all a joke, but it's like, there's somebody they want you they that's an engagement opportunity. And then now you've got small talk with any boss that you need small talk with,
mhm, yeah.
even if it pivots quickly to your professional like reason for talking with them. You can always leverage some of those like outside of the lines things to your favor if you have the desire to. Unfortunately, work is not always just do good work and go home.
Right.
Sometimes you've got to have some awareness of like what you're getting done, and that can be your chance to start that conversation.
Yeah, sometimes being a lower rung employee, um, with their ups, downs, lefts, and rights publicly blasted all over the internet, ingratiates yourself with bosses and their Twitter accounts and stuff like that.
What are you
Yeah, it's
talking
crazy. I
about?
don't know. I just hey, sometimes things work out. Sometimes you let the locker room be the locker room, and it gets you to places. Just saying. Hey guys, I've been out on 3 Hinge dates with this guy, and things were going well until he got a little too clingy and then started spiraling. He voiced that he was then mad he paid for the 3 dates. Both the second and third dates, I offered to split, and in the moment, he said he wanted to take care of it. I was gracious and said thank you several times during and after the dates. Days later, though, is when he mentioned he was irritated that he'd been paying for everything. I guess in my mind, men should pay for the dates they're planning. If I plan or suggest something, if I plan or suggest something, comma, I'd pay or offer to. I'm always happy to split, especially as relationships progress. But am I wrong for thinking this guy is being a bit dramatic?
What's your take on this? I think you should
Well,
lead
one,
off here.
I think you dodged a bullet here because if this dude like 3 dates, spirals, clingy, and then is like, "Where I paid for the dates, like, you owe me a relationship." I think that's crazy, 1, so I think
Yeah.
you dodged a bullet in that sense. Um, but no, I y 3 dates, especially Hinge dates, in my world, I'm paying. I like the offer, I appreciate the offer. That offer that you have to split goes into my mental bank. Am I expecting it? Not necessarily. Do I appreciate it? Yes. Um, but I'm still in dating world. I still feel obligated and honestly, want to pay because I'm planning a date or saying, "Hey, can we go to this place?" And hey, I'm going to pick you up at 8 or whatever that scenario is. I still I feel an obligation and then also a desire to pay. Not that it gets like it doesn't get you anything, in return other than a conversation, right? That's all that's kind of owed on a date, in my opinion.
If anything, it gets you out of whatever their mental bank is of like, oh, he didn't pay. Like,
Yeah,
and I feel
exactly.
like that's really probably the pressure on the guy of like not wanting that reputation, even if it's like,
Mhm.
she offered to pay. And then you've got to play the mental game of like, wait, is she serious or is she just trying to be kind? Like, that's the problem, like, that you run into here.
Totally.
Um,
I still don't have a
it's
perfect
been
answer for this. Like I've even in relationships that I've been in for years, I'm still like, yeah, I'm paying. Like that's kind of my thing. Like it's the was somebody put it like this is sexist and the female tax. It's like, well, I spend hundreds of dollars on makeup in my face. Like I don't. I spend $30 every 3 months on Kiehl's moisturizer. And so I'll pick up dinner a couple more times. Like I have no problem doing that. So I don't know. Like that's obviously outdated and
Well,
gender
unfortunately,
rolly,
that
but
tug of war scoreboarding like never stops. Like even
no,
in a
no, no.
marriage, like it's going to be as little as like, oh, I picked up the kids from school and made dinner and did bath time. Like, and you play these stupid things like in the moment
Mhm.
still.
The
And
abacus
then
of
by the end of the
marriage.
night, you're like, whatever. So like, exactly, perfectly said. But back to this scenario, I think that it's been a while since I've like legally and publicly been in a situation in which I was buying dinner for someone who we didn't have a prearranged situation. I'll say
A
that
legal
to
situation.
make sure I'm covering any bases
There you go.
here. Um, However, I think in this scenario, great. Somebody demands or not demands, somebody really feels strongly about paying. You can do one of two things. You can fight it, reject it, playfully, not like you have to be worried about their feelings, but like making sure it's not like a point of contention. If
Mhm.
everything's positive and you're like, no, 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 really, I want to.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the end of it. Like you can fight it or create another scenario in which you absolutely are paying. That may mean, great, they paid for dinner. You weren't going to have dessert before that. All right, great, fine. Thank you for dinner. I'm going to buy us, dessert,
Mhm. Or have that
non-negotiable,
conversation
or
ahead of
drinks.
time.
Even if you don't want to have that, like, yeah, I mean, yeah, but like nobody's seriously going to be like, hey, how's your day? And have you been here before? And how's it going? By the way, tonight, will you be paying or will I? Like,
Yeah,
people won't stop
I
down
I even
naturally.
mean, like, if say you're the girl in the situation and you're saying, "Hey, I know we have plans at Applebee's tonight. It's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm paying." I
Oh,
appreciate the
you're saying
last
like when
yeah,
making
yeah,
the
yeah,
plan, like,
yeah.
right, right.
"Hey,
Yes, agreed,
you've
agreed.
picked up 5 in a
Like,
row. I'm due. Happy to get this one." I think that's super appreciated. Everybody's financial situation is different, so obviously that plays a role. Um, but like once in a while, if like Rachel pick up a meal and she'd be like, you know what? No, I got it. I think that's really cool. Really like I means a lot. And it then you kind of reset the clock on it. I don't know. It's appreciated. I get where you're
yeah.
coming from here. But no, I agree that early on it feels more like the guy's responsibility to pay if he's planning the date.
The planning part's always silly too, though.
Yeah,
Like,
because girls aren't going to
because
plan
like
the
you
date.
just like,
True. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, if a girl plans a
yeah.
date, she gets the ick for the guy, pretty much.
Ooh.
So it's the guy has to pay. But if
I
a
was gonna
girl,
say,
Well,
Randy, you have
yeah,
probably the most recent perspective on this.
I'll say if a girl offers to pay, it depends. Like for me, it's always so nice. If you're a girl out there, offer to pay, but also be expecting to pay. But just to offer to me is very nice. I usually will pay, and I like even first date, second date, I'm always completely prepared that I'm going to pay
Yeah.
for the whole thing.
Yeah. I think first date 100% of the time. Second date 99% of the time. Third date, if there's a split offer, yeah, I'll take it. Probably. I think I would.
This guy
KJ
just sucks.
see,
KJ
I think
disagrees.
this is where like you gotta set the bar. As a man who was married up and dated up quite a bit in his life, I think, and it's not about being cheap, but if there's an offer, allow them to pay for the drinks. Like, who cares what
Mhm.
the waiter thinks? If they need to go
Gotcha.
back and split the drinks off and it's $46 off a $180 check or something, great. It's a small portion, but you both understood, like, we had a great time. They offered. Nope, I'm good. I've got it. If you want to pay for drinks or if you want to cover tip, whatever it might be, like, offer that opportunity so that at the end of the day, like, there's not they were somehow financially like burdened, because you got the steak and you talked them into the appetizer and like you ran up the bill. But
Mhm.
at the end,
Mhm.
but they still put in something.
Like that one.
And there's never that like sense of like they left without like they were getting a free dinner, which is was silly to feel that way. But like when things go sad, like our brains go that direction.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like that one girl on TikTok that had like 36 oysters on that guy's date.
Oh,
But no,
that's
yeah,
egregious.
you did nothing. The girl here, you did nothing wrong. You offered to pay, and he said no. I got it, and then you just weren't into him, and then he spiraled. You know what's great about dating as a guy
Oh
is
boy.
like a lot of girls have. It sucks for girls. They have bad like dates like this, and in comparison, we look great if we're just decent guys,
Mhm.
and like as long as we're not bad like these guys are, and it's kind of nice.
Yeah, you dodged a bullet
But
here.
like,
You're saying the
it
bar is
sucks.
set low.
The bar is set low, which sucks for women having a date, but it's nice of that. But yeah, you did nothing
I,
wrong.
I,
That
I
guy
think you free
sucks.
yourself up by offering to cover something less than the full tab
And
or
especially
something separate.
I like
Drinks
that.
at the next place,
now
whatever it is.
nowadays, like even first date, I usually pay for it, but a lot of girls like have careers and they'll go like, I'll get the next round. It's like,
Cool.
okay,
Yeah.
cool. Like that's their women will offer. Like as a guy, you should always be prepared to pay for all. But if as a woman you want to throw in and show that you like have the coin to spend too,
Mhm.
that's very nicely and a lot of times welcomed by us guys.
Succinctly put, Randy. I agree with you. Hey, Brett and KJ. First time, long time, and apologies for the long message, but I wanted to make sure there was enough context. I have a bachelor party slash statute of limitations on money question. I got married last October, and one of my groomsmen was in a bind as he was moving out of a house with a bunch of dudes into a house with his girlfriend. So money was tight, paying 2 rents for a couple months, etc. I Venmoed him $500 to help pay for the suit as it had to be ordered, and I wanted to make sure it got to him on time. I never got the money back and wasn't worried about it at the time. Fast forward to right now. My wife and I bought a house in June, and we are having a whole house generator put in at the end of the month. $11,000 when installed. That same guy asked me to be in his wedding and is getting married in March. I committed to the bachelor party at the Hard Rock in Cancun in February. My wife and I just found out that we may need a new hot water heater on top of everything. That'll be $4,200 to replace our tankless. So now I'm in a position where money is tight. The easy answer is to just not go, but I don't think I'll be invited to many. So I'm really excited to go, and my wife wants me to go. Would it be okay to say, "Hey, remember that time that I helped you out?" And remind him slash ask him to take the money off the bachelor party, explaining our situation? Or is that statute of limitations up and I just have to suck up the cost of everything? My wife and I can make it work, but the extra $500 would make it all a lot easier. Interesting one here.
What was the timeline again?
Went to
Last
the last
October.
October, and he Venmoed, so I would imagine some September
So it's about a
to
month and a half, a year and a
August.
half.
Yeah. So my initial reaction is like, yeah, I think I would expect if I explained my position well enough, like you did to us. My initial reaction is to ask for some sort of commutation of my sentence, right? Is that the word I'm looking for?
I don't know, but I'm trying to understand in what manner you mean it.
I'm trying to say, like, yeah, I think the way he put it was like, I don't need a Venmo for $500. Just take $500
Hmm.
off my tab when it comes to like the Airbnb or meals or whatever it might be involving the Hard Rock in Cancun. So that's my initial reaction. But I am very much up for the other side of the argument too, where I just be like, yeah, suck it up, don't cause a scene. That money was given without the expectation of return based on your buddy's financial situation at the time. Now you have a financial situation. So I don't know. I see both sides here and I'm rambling because I need help from you guys.
Was it given without the
Randy,
expectation of it being returned? Or was he just helping him out because he wanted to go? Like, I don't think he just said, like, yeah, I got it. Don't worry about it. Is that what the question said?
yeah, it did seem like that because he said it was money was tight from a time paying the two rents for a couple months.
Yeah. So the guy was
Yeah,
so he sent him $500. I don't think it was get with like the hey, get me back at some point. I think it was like, hey, I want you at my wedding. Here's $500 for your suit.
correct. Which, frankly, if it's $500, like you picked a suit that you should be putting in on anyway. Um,
Yeah.
Randy, what was your thought? I'm sorry, I cut you off there.
It was just, I don't think it's ridiculous to ask. You helped him out. Just say the situation you're in. Like, don't try to guilt him in. Be like, hey, remember like how I did all this for you? Be like, hey, I'm
Yeah,
kind of
don't
in the same situation you were. Like, do you know what I'm like going through here? Like,
I wouldn't put an ultimatum on it like, hey, I can't go unless you do this and kind of put him in like a decision kind of thing. But I'd say, hey man, I picked you up a little bit back in the day. Would you consider picking me up based on this, and this that I have going on? And if he says, I don't know how to do that or I can't do that, like it's not the end of the world, but maybe that sets the expectation in his mind that down the line you'd like some sort of commutation of commute a sentence. Am I like yeah, it's the
I
power to
don't,
substitute a sentence imposed by the judiciary for lesser sentence. Yeah.
my
I'm
brain
saying
is
you're
just
right.
tied up on like, why is this a sentence? Like, what are you like?
Yeah,
But anyways, okay. Um,
forgiving a loan.
there we go.
What do you think here,
Forbearance,
KJ?
maybe. Um, I think we got two things here. The biggest thing that stood out to me is the line about I don't think I'll have the opportunity to go to many.
Okay.
Because being a little bit jaded in this sense, like, you know, if it's a friend and you've got a group of friends and this is their bachelor party, you expect to go to the next guy's with this person. Like, not to say it's insignificant when you're celebrating one person versus another, but it wouldn't matter as much if you're like, whatever, we'll be at another one. You think there'll be a chance to like even out the tabs. I think my simple answer is I probably would explain to them, hey, I'm excited to go. Sarah's, excited for me to go. I'll let you know up front. Got a couple things around the house that we're having to pay for. So it's going to be a little bit tight for me to make it, happen, but I want to be there.
Mhm.
Just You know, if I've got to skip a dinner or something like that, just want to let you know up front. Because on the flip side, like they are maybe not paying for a lot on the bachelor party already. You know, they may be orchestrating it, but as we know, a lot of time it's the best man or somebody else who's like constructing the plan for this.
Sure.
So it doesn't
Yeah.
always mean that the groom has this money available to like then debit out of. Like they're
Yeah.
paying for other things as well.
Yeah, you don't wanna take it out of
Um,
the pockets of the attendees. It would be you would want it to be taken from the groom himself. So
right,
maybe the
which is sticky in that
yeah.
scenario. So, but you let them know because they might say on the other side, be like, oh, hey, you know what? Actually, I forgot I owed you this. I'll cover you here, blah, blah, blah. No big deal. And
Mhm.
then at least you know there's some like mutual understanding of like, I didn't forget about it. I appreciated that. It might not be $500 they can give you back, but they
Mhm.
may cover dinner for you, you know, whatever it may be. And like at the end of the day, maybe it's $350 worth of money that you're not spending. You know, you get over it.
Yeah.
So that's probably like the pragmatic way to go about it. Otherwise, you know,
Let it roll
yeah.
off you a little bit.
The water heater thing, like not the water heater. Water heater, got it. You didn't plan this.
Mhm.
The whole home generator,
Yeah.
I'm not in the market for one. It sounded like that was an elected purchase. I don't see how it's this
Ah,
guy's
I see.
choice. The other one on the other end, yeah, a little bit different. But you know,
Gotcha.
I've been there. You know, it's not fun.
Yeah, I think we did a pretty good job. I get both sides.
Yeah.
If I were you, I'd communicate with him separately. Maybe try to build in $500 somehow, some way into his.
Just don't expect it to be equal. Like
Yeah, yeah,
don't
yeah.
expect to be like a flat like line item thing of like trying to get back to that number. Just help him understand your situation.
Mhm,
If they're a good person, they'll help try to alleviate it to whatever level they can.
mhm.
Or at very minimum, if for some reason in your gut you know that you shouldn't try to stretch it financially and you don't go, they know.
Yeah, yeah. You're going to going to the wedding anyway. Like that can be the fun
Leave the
thing
group
about
text immediately. Otherwise, like you will hate
it.
getting those texts and be annoyed by the stupid jokes that come out of it.
Absolutely.
Speaking from experience.
Last one, KJ. I got a shower thought question for you from somebody. I forgot the name. Would you go on an all expenses paid trip to Antarctica if you had the chance? Here's the deal. In order to get there, you fly to the very south tip of Argentina with 2 layovers on a trip itinerary that totals 40 hours. Then you have to take a 4-day long boat ride to Antarctica where you finally get to pitch a tent and cozy up with some penguins for the night. If you're lucky, you can see the southern lights. Then you get to turn around and make the long haul back home. Would you do it?
Randy, you wanna
Absolutely.
pitch in?
I hate the cold weather and everything too, but if a trip like that's all
Truly all
paid,
expenses
like I
paid.
don't have to lift a dime. All I have to do is like take time off. Like, yeah. Because even the boat ride and all that stuff, like that's, it's not about the destination, about the journey. Like that's still part of the vacation to me too. It's like being on that boat for 4 days. It's not just about going to Antarctica.
I'm
That
with
sounds awesome.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. If it's true, I don't think I'm paying to go on this vacation.
Oh God,
But
no.
if I'm getting this vacation for free and truly like all expenses paid, because then it's a cool flight to, Brazil, then a cool flight to Argentina, then a cool boat ride. Like, yeah, I'm going to enjoy that. I don't know about pitching a tent in Antarctica. I think that sounds dangerous. I would at the very least like
And
to be in
difficult
a
in that cold weather.
yeah, in like some sort of trailer that has insulation. I don't know if you can do the winter tent down there with the penguins, but yeah, if it's all expenses paid, yes, I'm doing it. If I have to lift if a dime comes out of my wallet, I'm probably out on the Antarctica trip. JJ?
Fair. College friend of mine took or was like invited for a media company and was invited on like Viking cruises as they were beginning their Antarctic explorer routes.
Okay.
I can't recall who he worked for. Whoever like GQ is owned by, but like I don't mean as name drop. I just couldn't remember the name.
Gotcha.
And the videos and photos from that looked to be like James Bond level dope.
Mm,
Because and mostly because of like the boat and everything that they were doing while they got there.
Sure.
So like in that category, yes, as somebody who did their honeymoon in Iceland and has no issues with the cold. I didn't grow up with it like you two, so I don't have like the bitter distaste for it quite yet. But like my vacation of preference is definitely more like mountains than it would be beach.
Mhm.
Tanning doesn't take long here. So like for those purposes, yeah, I'm in, but I'm looking at like just trying to figure out like, okay, what's a Viking cruise experience going to set you back from Buenos Aires to, can't even pronounce it, 13 days, 2 countries from 12 grand, all the way up to, you can go from the Arctic to Antarctica, 12 countries, 87 days from 75 grand. So like you can spend some time out there if you really wanted to. The time part is just not for me. Maybe it's, the whole old man, kids, family thing. Even with that aside, like I would get very bored.
Yeah.
If this is a 2-week thing, like I don't even care about long flights or long boat rides. Like I just need to be able to mix it up. If I was going to spend 2 or 3 weeks traveling somewhere, I feel like I would need to be doing the multiple countries type thing, being able to bounce from place to place to place within that time frame. If I wasn't there for like one core purpose in one spot, the traveling part for 6 days is just, it ain't for me.
I think with Antarctica too, if you're just kind of shacking up with penguins in a tent for a couple days, you're not doing a whole lot of trekking given the weather. Like you may be huddled around a fire.
Yeah, I assume there was like a guide in this situation too, right?
Like
Yeah.
are you? Yeah. There's not necessarily a bar and restaurant to go hang out at, warm up. I don't know. Yeah, it would truly have to be a free like, and I'd have to go with. So I'm not going. I'm not solo tripping this.
You want me to tell you what else is included?
Yeah,
On this is speaking of the Viking experience.
This is the 75
Excursions
grand one.
include, well, just options. I guess this is 75 grand is the baseline. Here's your added options. Let's see. 24-hour sunlight and temperatures rise to comfortable 32 degrees. Ice melts, unlocking frozen seaways, blah, blah, blah. Excursions include an undersea dive and a panoramic submarine. Dope. As a citizen scientist.
I don't know about that.
Not Ocean Gate. They're not going that deep.
Randy, submarines before Ocean Gate are my worst nightmare. Just cannot be in a metal tube. I can be in a metal tube in the air for some reason, where if a hole happens, I still have a fighting chance. If a hole happens in a submarine, I'm dead, and I just cannot deal with that. Like, I don't know. I can't deal with that.
What do you mean you have a fighting chance if a hole happens in a plane up there? Well,
Like if the door pops off, we've seen that the plane can land. If a door pops off in a submarine, you're fucked.
Okay. Anyways,
plug it
or pops in, I guess.
Keep going, KJ.
Pops out on an airplane. Pops in on
the only other one that like is unique. The others are like, see penguins, whales, and wildlife viewing and photos. But is as a citizen scientist, assist the onboard scientists with research. So like all of your treks, you're basically like the extra capital cargo, because like they're going down there for business, and they're like, how do we make money with this shit? Like you're tagging along with people who are going down there to do.
You're drilling ice samples.
Yeah, I've seen what happens when you drill an ice sample in the wrong spot. You set off a global chain
Transformers.
reaction. Oh, is that? I was thinking Day After Tomorrow.
Oh, damn it!
AVP. You find the pyramid too. Alien vs. Predator.
Okay.
You know what? Here's my anti-answer.
Nobody AVPs it.
AVP.
Here's my
like
anti-answer to
I
that
was,
guy.
I was like, huh, what?
That's getting the inheritance. Do this. This is my anti-answer. Do the 87-day, 75 grand thing as a 29-year-old single guy. That sounds like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that you now can do. Who cares? Your friends are going to be like, wait, how can he do that? Don't explain it. Just go off the grid for 3 months.
The only problem with that is if you went on a trip as a 29-year-old single guy and you're on, like, based on the client, like you're going to be with everybody in retirement and a guide. Like there's not a lot of, if you're
that's why I throw out Thailand.
If you're chasing
gotta find
skirts, as the
Conti
kids
to
would
buy
say, I don't think that's,
I'm saying do it as a cultural experience and get to learn about the world. What, 87 countries? Is that what you said?
You go to
$87,000, right?
Lollapalooza for a cultural experience. I mean, you don't need to go to Antarctica.
I'm talking about it was from the Arctic to the Antarctic. I'm assuming it just goes through.
Yes, yes,
Uh,
yes.
yeah, that's pretty cool.
I'll do if I can fly to Antarctica and land at McMurdo, the base down there, and, like, hang out in the cool sciencey stuff, yeah, I'd be more apt. If I'm doing penguins, like, not doing you know what I mean? If I'm seeing penguins and sitting in a tent for 3 days by myself, doesn't do a whole lot for me.
I've seen some stuff from some Alaska cruise line stuff. My
Alaska.
parents and like aunts and uncles were all supposed to go, and then pandemic hit. But like I've seen some videos from there. It looks amazing.
Have you ever been on a cruise, KJ?
No, no. And I'd say 99% of me would not go unless like it's Tool and Corn put on a 13-day excursion featuring the Used or something. Like, put me down for that.
Okay.
But I don't think that I'm doing just carnival cruises with the kids or anything like that.
I don't think I am
I'll just go to
either.
Vegas over and
Oh.
over.
I
It's
don't
not even the water. I get bored.
yeah, Randy,
I'm
you're
closer than I've ever been to go on a cruise. I've been on 5th grade, but after May, I have one wedding in May, and then the rest of the year I have nothing planned. And I've been talking to my roommate, like, should we just go on a cruise one weekend?
you strike
I
me
would
as
love it.
a huge cruise guy.
I would have to go on a Virgin cruise though, like
Ha.
one that's like 21 and up.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's
like
the
I
no
don't.
it's no kids, right?
Yeah, I don't want to go on a kids one. Like I'm not going on a Disney cruise, but like a adult one that's like all alcohol and all that stuff. That I kind of want to do it. Just like a 5-day
Okay.
Yeah,
cruise
but
sounds fun.
you're on there with a bunch of third wives, you know, fourth, fifth marriage wives on there.
Hey, we like your vibe. We were looking at you across the
What's
hall.
your story there, cowboy? My caveat, I would do like a river cruise, perhaps like the Danube or
Yeah.
the Seine, and where you like the Viking River where you hop off more
Mhm.
often, like a couple times a day, do dinner in a city in Europe, hop back on for the night, that kind of stuff. I would do that. As far as the big boys that just you stop once in like the Bahamas, I'm not quite as apt, I think, for that. Anyway.
Fair
That'll do it
enough.
for us today. KJ, thank you very much for hopping on. Really appreciate it. Randy,
Ton
thank
of
you
fun.
very much for the ones and twos. Subscribe, rate 5 stars, review, and tell a friend about the show. You can hit the hotline number to leave a voicemail 888-362-MAIL. That is 888-362-6245. Or you can write in the link in the Twitter bio at Mailin Podcast. KJ, where can the folks find you?
Let me at KJ Ellis with ones of the L's, both on Twitter and Instagram. More importantly, Mondays on Too Much Up here on the Wash Media Network. As we said at the onset, check out the Fundly fundraising campaign for St. Jude's. Consider chipping in for Madison if there's no place that strikes your fancy. Regardless, it will be a great time for a good reason.
Love it. Love it, love it. That'll do it for us. Thank you, KJ. Thank you, Randy. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye-bye.